Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into the 1989 classic, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Strap in, because this isn't just a movie. It's a tiny-sized survival epic that'll make you never look at your backyard the same way again. Wayne Szalinski is a brilliant scientist. He has been tirelessly working on his latest invention, a machine that can shrink and grow objects. However, the machine never works. No matter how many times he tries, the thing just won't do what it's supposed to. Instead, it blows things to bits. His failures pile up, and so does the distance between him and his family. His obsession with perfecting the device has caused him to lose connection with his children. His wife, Diane, has had enough. After one too many arguments, she left to stay with her mother, putting their kids, Amy and Nick, under Wayne's watch, which really means Amy is the one in charge. At a young age, she's practically running the house, making sure her little brother doesn't take apart the toaster, or worse, the family dog. Nick is a curious kid, always tinkering with something, and keeping him out of trouble is a full-time job. Diane isn't the only one fed up with Wayne's experiments. The Thompsons, their neighbors, think the Szalinskis are downright weird. Of course, the Szalinskis think the same about the Thompsons. The Thompson boys are a strange pair. Ron, the younger one, loves causing chaos with his homemade gadgets, while his older brother, little Russ, barely seems interested in anything. And I mean anything. His dad, Big Russ, is a big guy with big expectations. Football, fishing, lifting weights, but little Russ just doesn't care. He's small, quiet, and completely unimpressed by his dad's attempts to turn him into some kind of athlete. The only thing that ever catches his attention is Amy. However, today, everything changes. Wayne packs up his research papers on his unfinished shrinking machine and heads to a science conference, hoping to impress his colleagues. Diane calls him before he leaves, and for once, he actually listens. He promises her that if this conference goes well, they'll finally be the husband and father they need. That's enough for Diane. She agrees to come home. Wayne's excited to finally bring his family back together. He tells Amy and Nick to clean up the house before Diane returns. But Nick would rather spend the time on his science projects, so he convinces a buddy to mow the lawn for him using his fancy high-tech lawnmower. Next door, Big Russ is busy prepping for his family fishing trip, taking his sweet time. His youngest, Ron, gets bored waiting and starts messing around with a baseball. Then, one wild swing later, the ball smashes through the Szalinskis' attic window, right into Wayne's lab. It lands in the worst possible spot, blocking the machine's laser. The machine powers on unexpectedly and shrinks Wayne's old couch. Little Russ, the responsible one, drags Ron over to apologize. Ron and Nick head up to the attic to get the ball, while little Russ stays behind, mustering up the courage to talk to Amy. Their awkward chat goes nowhere fast, until they realize their brothers are taking way too long. They head up to check, and suddenly, all four kids are tiny. Now everything is terrifyingly huge. The family dog barks, and it sounds like thunder. Meanwhile, Wayne's big presentation flops spectacularly. The other scientists laugh at him when he fails to demonstrate that the machine actually works. Humiliated, he comes home, only to find his kids missing. Just as he begins to search the attic, the machine shifts and the baseball rolls away from the laser, deactivating the machine again. He doesn't see the tiny kids standing on the shrunken couch, screaming for help. All he notices is the broken window and the missing furniture. Frustrated, he smashes his machine and sweeps up the pieces, along with the kids, dumping them outside in a trash bag. Using a sharp object, the kids cut their way out. Their backyard now looks like a massive wilderness. What used to be a short walk has become a dangerous 3.5-mile journey. They slide down a blade of grass and start trekking through what now feels like a dense jungle. A giant butterfly scares them into hiding. Nick's old toy dinosaur also gives them a jump scare, but they press forward until they hit a river, which is actually a smelly puddle from their dog. The sight gives them an idea. If they can call the dog, they could hitch a ride back home. They all whistle, except little Russ, who as usual can't. But that doesn't stop him. While the other boys climb a grass stalk for a better view, he follows, determined to impress Amy. Meanwhile, Diane comes home excited. She just sold a huge property and can't wait to celebrate with her family. But instead of a happy reunion, she finds Wayne looking defeated. He admits his invention failed and promises to go back to his old job, swearing he is still committed to the change he promised her, even though the house is still a mess. When they realize the kids are missing, they begin to panic. They check everywhere, calling friends, searching the mall, even checking with the Thompsons as a last resort. That's when both families realize all 4 kids are missing. In the backyard, the shrunken kids spot their dog responding to their whistle, but their hopes for rescue vanish when the Thompsons' cat scares him off. Then the grass stalk begins to sway from too much weight, and Nick falls into a pile of pollen. Amy panics, knowing he's allergic, but the pollen grains are now too large to enter his nose. The real threat is the swarm of bees heading for the pollen. One swoops down, grabs Nick, and flies off with him, mistaking him for pollen. Little Russ, showing unexpected bravery, leaps onto the bee right behind him. They go on a terrifying aerial tour of the backyard, flying right past their oblivious fathers before the tired bee finally drops them. The bee incident makes Wayne realize the baseball bat he just used to fend off the bee isn't Nick's. It must have been responsible for the broken attic window and his missing kids. Investigating the broken window, he discovers the shrunken couch, proof his machine worked, and his kids have likely been shrunken too. Horrified, he realizes he may have thrown them out with the trash. As Wayne frantically searches the backyard, he accidentally turns on the sprinklers. To the tiny kids, it's like being pelted with water balloons the size of boulders. While running for cover, Amy slips into a muddy puddle and nearly drowns. Little Russ dives in without hesitation, pulling her to safety and even performing CPR when she stops breathing. The near-death experience brings them closer. Wet, exhausted, and starving, the kids discover one of Nick's old cookies. Now the size of a house, they feast until an ant appears, forcing them to flee. But Nick gets a brilliant idea. They capture the ant and ride it like a horse, dangling a cookie crumb just out of its reach to keep it moving. Working together, the tiny adventurers press forward, hoping their parents find them before something else goes wrong. After searching everywhere, the 2 families call the police. The officers first talk to the Thompsons and jump to conclusions. They think Ron and Little Russ ran away because Big Russ is too hard on them. When Diane tells Wayne the police are coming, he finally comes clean. He shows her the tiny couch, proof his machine shrunk the kids. Diane's world stops. When the police question Wayne, he panics and lies, claiming his kids aren't missing. They're just playing in the backyard. Diane faints right there. Meanwhile, our tiny adventurers have made an unlikely friend. Rather than forcing it into labor, they set their ant companion free. But Auntie, as they've named it, won't leave their side. As night falls, Amy gets anxious. She was supposed to have a date tonight with a boy she really liked. Little Russ tries to hide his jealousy, but it's obvious. Over at the Thompson house, Big Russ is so stressed he starts smoking again. He carelessly flicks his cigarette into the Selinskys' yard. For the tiny kids, the glowing ember becomes a perfect torch. They find a Lego piece to rest in, and for a moment, things seem calm. Little Russ and Amy share a quiet moment. He confesses how his father's constant criticism made him feel small, and Amy admits she never noticed him before because she'd been too wrapped up in her own world. They grow closer, but their moment is shattered when a scorpion attacks. The group scatters in panic. Ron gets trapped, but brave Auntie charges in to help. The battle is fierce. The kids fight back with sticks, driving the scorpion away. But the victory comes at a cost. Auntie took the worst of it. Despite their efforts, their loyal ant friend doesn't make it. They've lost a friend, but found something else. A bond that gives them the strength to keep going, no matter how small they are. At home, Diane regains consciousness and joins Wayne in a desperate search of the yard, but there's still no sign of the kids. Seeing how devastated the Thompsons are, she convinces Wayne to tell them the truth. Big Russ reacts with skepticism. He doesn't believe Wayne's story, but that doesn't stop him from seizing the chance to bully him, demanding he fix it and bring his kids home. That night, Wayne and Diane find comfort in each other. All their old arguments seem small now. Exhausted, Diane rests while Wayne works through the night, rebuilding his machine. When she wakes at dawn, she finds him asleep beside his creation. In that quiet moment, she sees the real Wayne, not just a flawed scientist, but a father who'd move mountains for his family. Meanwhile, after the kids say goodbye to Auntie, they wake up to find the worst isn't over yet. Nick's friend arrives, eager to mow the lawn with the high-tech lawnmower. The tiny group runs for their lives as grass clippings fly like missiles. They take shelter in a worm's hole, buying them a few seconds of safety. Wayne and Diane notice the mowing and rush outside. They stop the boy just as the mower's blades hover over the hole. The vacuum force nearly sucks Nick into the spinning blades, so the kids form a human chain, anchoring themselves to a root until it snaps. Just as they're about to be pulled in, Wayne hits the off switch. Now closer than ever to their parents, the kids scream with all their might, but their tiny voices don't carry. Just when all seems lost, Quark the dog trots over. They grab onto his fur and hitch a ride inside. The Thompsons' cat reappears, ready for round 2, but this time, Quark stands his ground. With a thunderous bark, he sends the cat running. The triumphant dog jumps onto the table where Wayne's eating cereal, trying to show him the kids. When Wayne pushes Quark away, the motion sends Nick flying, right into the giant bowl of milk and cereal. Wayne keeps munching, completely missing Nick's tiny screams from the milk bowl. As he lifts a spoonful toward his mouth, Quark suddenly bites his leg. The distraction makes Wayne examine his cereal more closely. Peering through his magnifying glass, he finally spots Nick moving in the milk. Further inspection reveals the other shrunken children nearby. Diane immediately calls the Thompsons, while Wayne rushes to prepare his machine. However, the device sits where he left it, still glitching and causing objects to explode rather than shrink them. The kids desperately gesture toward the baseball, helping Wayne piece together what went wrong. He realizes the laser had overheated the machine until the baseball blocked it. That was what made the shrinking work. With quick adjustments, the machine hums to life. Big Russ volunteers to test it first, and it works perfectly, shrinking and restoring him without a hitch. Before they're restored to normal size, Little Russ gathers his courage and asks Amy out. He admits he can't dance, but Amy laughs and agrees to a date anyway. The machine successfully returns everyone to their proper size. There are hugs, tears, and even Big Russ embracing his sons, especially Little Russ, finally accepting him as he is. Big Russ shakes Wayne's hand, their old rivalry forgotten. By Thanksgiving, the two families have become inseparable. They share a massive feast together, laughing about their wild adventure. Even Quark gets a reward, an extra-large dog biscuit. After everything they've been through, one thing's clear. Sometimes the biggest adventures come in the smallest packages.
I shrunk the kids.
What?
Threw them out with the trash.